R&B has told the stories of love and heartbreak for as long as we can remember. R&B is the soundtrack to some of our best and worst memories. But the story of R&B is one much larger than music. It's a story of movement, cultural exchange, and resilience. It's a story written across the Black Atlantic. British scholar Paul Gilroy coined the term Black Atlantic to describe how Black identity and culture aren't tied to one place, but instead are shaped by the movement of people, ideas, and traditions across the Atlantic. And R&B is the perfect example. Today on Rhythm and Rhymes, we're diving deep into the Black Atlantic story of R&B. We'll explore how R&B was formed. We'll get into how the Great Migration and the fusion of different musical styles evolved the sound in cities like Chicago and Detroit, and then highlight the ongoing dialogue between Black communities around the globe that have shaped the genre that we love. The story of R&B began long before the term was even coined. It starts with the spirituals, the powerful songs of faith and resistance created by enslaved Africans in the Americas. These songs, born from unimaginable hardship, were more than just expressions of religious belief. They were coded messages, calls for freedom, and a way to preserve cultural identity in the face of dehumanization. Frederick Douglass eloquently described them as a tale which was altogether beyond my feeble comprehension. They were tones, loud, long, and deep, breathing the prayer and complaint of souls boiling over with the bitterest anguish. Every tone was a testimony against slavery and a prayer to God for deliverance from chains. Those songs still follow me to deepen my hatred of slavery and quicken my sympathies for my brethren in bonds. The call and response patterns and expressive vocals became the building blocks for future Black musical forms, including the blues and R&B later on. From the spirituals emerged gospel music and later the blues, a genre that gave a voice to pain, sorrow, and resilience to Black Americans in the post-slavery era. The blues, with its distinctive swing rhythm and emotional lyrics, captured the realities for Black Americans in the rural South. Key figures like Charlie Patton, Muddy Waters, and Blind Blake helped define the sound and style of the blues. These regional variations added depth and texture to the ever-evolving sound of the blues. Juke joints were informal gathering places in the rural South, and they were crucial for the development of the blues. These venues weren't just about the music. They were where communities came together. When Black folks migrated to the North, they brought juke joint spirit with them. And they recreated these spaces in cities like Chicago, New York, and Detroit. And this is where the blues really started to transform into R&B. The Great Migration was a mass movement of African Americans from the rural South to the industrial North. It was a pivotal moment in American history and a key chapter in the formation of R&B. Seeking opportunity and escaping the oppressive conditions in the Jim Crow South, millions of African Americans carried their traditions, including the blues, to cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New York. Between 1916 and 1970, over 6 million African Americans made this journey, transforming the demographics of the nation and reshaping the cultural makeup of many American cities. This mass movement had a profound effect on American music, particularly R&B. In Chicago, the blues became powerful and had a more amplified sound. Musicians started to incorporate electric guitars, harmonicas, bass, and drums. This shift, whether from intention or not, was a byproduct of the urban environment. Musicians now were competing with the sounds of the city, which meant they had to get creative. Chicago blues lyrics started to show urban life experiences. They talked about migration, alienation, and social change. New York City, a melting pot of cultures and musical influences, fostered an environment for experimentation and innovation. The city's vibrant jazz scene, combined with the incoming blues and other Black musical traditions, made it a great place for R&B to form. Detroit, meanwhile, developed a lot smoother sound thanks to Motown Records, one of the greatest record labels of all time. Berry Gordy's vision for Motown Records was to make sure that it could cross racial barriers, but still be presented as Black music. And he did just that. Motown had artists like The Temptations, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and the Jackson 5. Shout out to the G. They were all able to achieve mainstream success while also maintaining their Black identity, which was important to Gordy. Motown's polished production, catchy melodies, and socially conscious lyrics definitely helped launch R&B into a wider audience. And it was the perfect storm. Motown's rise collided directly with the civil rights movement, and R&B became a powerful soundtrack for social change. Artists like Sam Cooke, Nina Simone, and James Brown used their music to express the hopes, struggles, and realities of being a Black American during this time period. And Marvin Gaye, one of the greatest R&B artists of all time, put out What's Going On during the Vietnam War. And to me, this is one of the best R&B projects of all time, partially because of how it sounds, but also because of the social commentary weaved throughout. I think that when you listen to that project in particular, you can still take the messaging in it and apply it to things today, things that are going on in the Middle East, things that are going on in Africa. You listen to that today and it still rings off. Paul Gilroy's Black Atlantic framework reminds us that culture flows in all directions. R&B, born in the United States, traveled across the Atlantic and not only influenced other music genres, but evolved and changed in combination with other Black music traditions. This exchange is the perfect example of the interconnectedness of Black communities across the globe. Burna Boy, a Nigerian artist who calls his style Afrofusion, is a contemporary example of how R&B continues to shape global music. His music seamlessly blends African rhythms with R&B melodies. Wizkid, a Nigerian Afrobeats artist, has collaborated multiple times with R&B artists like Her, Jasmine Sullivan, and many others. Sade, whose Nigerian heritage infuses her music with a unique blend of sophistication and soul, is another artist whose work demonstrates R&B's global reach. Her smooth jazz vocals, jazz-fused harmonies, and elegant songwriting style draw heavily from R&B tradition. Her influence can be heard in the music of countless contemporary artists, from R&B singers to pop stars. R&B continues to evolve, reflecting the ever-changing experiences of Black communities across the globe. The genre's adaptability and willingness to embrace new sounds is what's kept its relevance for so long. R&B's influence is undeniable, right there with hip-hop. In 2022 alone, R&B and hip-hop accounted for 29.3% of all on-demand audio streams in the US. Globally, the numbers are similarly staggering, reinforcing R&B's global reach and cultural impact. The echoes of R&B resonate, demonstrating the enduring power of the Black Atlantic and the interconnectedness of its people. The story of R&B is a story of migration, innovation, and cultural exchange. It's a testament to the power of Black creativity and the enduring connections that bind Black communities across the Atlantic. It's a story that continues to be written, one song at a time. If you like this type of content that we're making here, hit the subscribe button and then also hit that notification bell so that you can get alarmed when we put out our next piece of content.